Welcome to Watercolor Lessons with Kathy. I'm Kathy Nichols, and I'm a lifelong artist, painter, and teacher. I help students of all ages tap into their creativity with watercolor. Watercolor is a great way to express yourself, and it's easy to get started and fun to do. I hope you join me to learn how to paint with watercolor. I can't wait to see your paintings. Welcome to the next lesson in our bird series. Today, we'll paint a hovering hummingbird. They are fascinating to watch as they zoom around and hover. We'll use 3 brushes, 5 paints, and 3 techniques. Be sure to check below for useful information and links. Let's paint! Today we're painting a hummingbird. Spray your pans and put some water on your palette. And let's start. Now I do have a template made for this one. And the bird is in flight. And so here I have my template made. And I'm setting it a little above the middle of the composition, because down below the bird, we will be painting an iris plant, a flower. So load your liner brush. And we'll start with a mixture of burnt umber and the ultramarine blue, again, which if you add a little more blue, it's more of a gray color. And trace your template. And then lift it up. Wet your liner and spread the paint, the outline there. I'm starting at the tip of the wing. Now the hummingbird is turning the head, and we will be doing the beak, the very last thing. Now, oops, on the top of the head, there's a green color, so you want to take some of your sap green, load your liner, and paint the top of the head green. And then stop halfway about right there. And you're going to carry some of the green. Now, the eye is about right there. And I'm going to lift some of the paint off, because the eye is going to go right there, and then the beak is going to go out. And then carry some of the green down on the body here. There's not a lot of green on the wings, so I want to lift some of that out. Now, the hummingbird on the throat, there's kind of a reddish color. Load your liner with crimson. And we'll add some here. Need to wet my brush a little bit. So this is the neck of the hummingbird. Okay, load your liner with the burnt umber and some of the ultramarine blue. Now I'm turning my attention to the wing and letting the part that I painted there to dry. And I'm making more definition on the wing here, spreading the wings. Excuse me. And then carry some of the color down here. And I'm leaving some white there on the breast. Load your brush as needed with the same mixture of the burnt umber and the ultramarine blue. It's too much blue. Now that's pretty dark. So we'll wet my brush and lift some of that out and spread it. And let's start on this other wing. Same mixture of burnt umber and the ultramarine blue. Now, the wing right there is darker, so you can start dark, and then we want to start thinning that paint out. Like so. I want to stop here and take some time to dry the paint. Okay, now I want to go back and work on this wing right here. And to do that, I wanted to dry it. So load your liner brush with a mixture of burnt umber and the ultramarine blue. And right at the start of the wing, it's darker. So you want to add a little darkness there and then spread it and soften it and spread it out so it's the wings. Like so. Okay, and then carry some of that color down by the body here. Now, there's a little shadow or form of the tiny little legs, and those are about right here. Now I'm adding a little more brown on this and putting a little bit on the breast and where the feet are tucked in. Just a tiny bit. Now let's take some of that color, and the eye of the hummingbird is right here, and it's a solid black, and then leave a white spot. Then with that same mixture, of burnt umber and the ultramarine blue, we're going to form the beak. And it's long, so that's why there's that white spot there. So take your liner and then make the beak. Now there's some little darkness, a little bit by the beak. So I'm just adding a little dark feathers are peeking through. like so. Now, the green seems light to me. So take your liner brush and load it with a sap. And there's some darker feathers in his head. Now, the sap is a little bit light, so you add some burnt umber to make some darker little feathers that are poking through the head. And then carry it down below. And there's a little bit of the green showing on the other side here, so I'm going to add a little bit here. Like so. Clean your brush. So we will want to do the same thing with the red throat. Take crimson. Now the crimson here is pretty light. You might not need to add any burnt umbers. So just plain crimson. And I'm going to poke some bright little feathers that are peeking out. So again, you know, you're creating the base color, and then to add the contrast, adding the variation here. Like so. Okay, time to dry. So below the bird will be a flower. First, take your round with pointed tip brush and load it with crimson and ultramarine blue. Now this is an iris, and so it's going to be, will be below the bird. So start with doing the petals with one on this side and then one on the other side. Now this paint, I started really dark, but that's okay. I'm going to thin it out. Actually, I'm going to stop and clean my brush a little bit so it's just water on it. And take the paint I have on my painting and spread it to create the petals. And there's a few up here. One here. And one here. Like so. This one seems a little dark, so I'm just going to take my brush and go over it and pick up some of that paint. It's not quite as dark, like so. Okay. Now there's some yellow on this, so you will want to take your brush. I'm lifting some of the paint here, and you can see it's almost white, and I want that to be that way. And I will stop using this color and switch to sap green for a moment here and start on the stem and come back to that area in a minute. And there's going to be a little bud here. So clean your brush. And we're using the crimson and ultramarine blue mixture. And put a little bud there. Okay. Now that that area has had time to dry, take your round with pointed tip brush and load with cadmium yellow and put some yellow there on the plant. And if some of the colors mix, that's okay. Like so. Now it's time to give it a good dry. Now I saw that when I dried it, some of the paint ran here, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to dab it. Now, this lifted all the color out. You can go back with your brush, like your liner brush, take some of that sap green, and go back and fill it in, like that. Now, I do want to add some more contrast on the flower. So take your crimson and ultramarine blue mixture and I'm going to add the darkest layer here on the flower. Like so, just to kind of give it more of a pop. And take some of that color into the stem. Now if it's too dark, again, just wipe your brush and touch the spots and that will lift the paint out. Okay, now you could leave it like that or add background. So we will be adding a wash of a background of blue, as in blue sky. Start with your mop to do the big areas. Take ultramarine blue, load your brush. Now you can start out strong and just carry that paint and spread it. And to be careful about when you're coming up to the flower and bird. Okay, now I'm switching to my round with pointed brush. Now, if you don't like some of the areas, like this dark blue got kind of funky, and I'm gonna pat it and lift some of it out. Like so. Okay. Now, as I look at this, I see that I need a little more definition here on the hummingbird, the wings. So I take your liner brush and load it with some of the ultramarine blue and burnt umber mixture. And we're going to create a little more definition on these wings here. Just want to make some of this a little softer. Like so. So those really look like they're fluttering out and spreading his wings. Then sit back, look at your painting, and I like my little hummingbird. I enjoyed painting with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it too. To send me photos of your creations, email them to the address in the description. To be notified when there's a new lesson, be sure to subscribe, tap the bell, and hit like. Take care, be safe, and see you soon.